I want to start off by thanking Doug and all of the folks that have worked very hard on the steering committee on this and everybody who provided some input. I also want to say that I am totally fangirling over my council colleagues, Councilwoman Gonzalez and Councilwoman Sandoval. I think they do a very eloquent job of putting their thoughts together before they speak, and I appreciate that. And Mayor, thank you for the youth council that you're working to set up. I am an advocate of anything relating to youth because I think that their voices need to be heard. I will be voting in favor of this unless, of course, there's any last-minute amendments that would consider additional research to be done, because that's me. I always say, hey, wait a second, let's do some research. I have a few questions, and first of all, I want to thank you all for your consideration to the equity-centered approach to committees that Doug talked about today. I think that is very important. I also want to thank you for the draft advisory committee timeline. I feel a little bit better now. I know that I was always asking for some objectives and some time frames, and I really appreciate the thought that was given on that. Also, I would want to continue to be an advocate for equal representation from diverse demographics and backgrounds. So I'd love to see a committee created where there's both activists and business folks from every zip code working together, and my focus is on the every zip code. I feel that sometimes some of our zip codes are underrepresented, even here when we have public comment. Today, I do want to take the time to thank the Southwest Workers Union for being here, because I really appreciate you all representing those folks in our districts that cannot come to council because they can't leave their work because they can't afford to. So thank you very much for your advocacy. I do have your 530 plus postcards in my office, and I was really proud that District 4 had the majority number of postcards submitted, so thank you for your work on that. I do have just a few questions. Doug, if you can help me answer these. And so specifically, I'm wondering who's going to be involved on the Regional Climate Council? Have we decided that?
So that's very early in discussion. I think I am aware of there are some municipalities and there are some leaders sort of up and down the I-35 corridor that have expressed interest. So I think we'll start there. Definitely look to the mayor's office to help provide some of the leadership on that.
Wonderful. Another question, same slide. What is the benchmarking disclosure program that you were referring to?
Sure. And that's currently in discussion. We have a group of diverse stakeholders that we've been beginning to meet with. Basically, there's upwards of 25 to 30 cities in the United States that have a similar program that targets buildings, commercial, industrial, multifamily buildings of a certain square footage, occasionally 50,000 square foot or higher. And it can be a voluntary program, it can be a requirement, but the goal is to have those property owners benchmark their energy and water use so they know what that consumption is, tie them to incentives such as CPS, energy efficiency incentives, and basically reporting to the city that, yes, we benchmarked our buildings. So it can come in many different forms, but the goal is making sure our largest building owners are aware of their energy consumption.
And then I also noticed that you're initiating a business outreach pilot recognition program. I appreciate that.
Correct. And I think my first stop with that is with Mr. David McCary, just to learn about how he has launched his program and see how we can collaborate to see if we can fold in or at least learn how he's done such an amazing job on that.
Great, I love it. I also I appreciate the business outreach. I know there's a lot of businesses that focus on the triple bottom line: people, planet, profit. And profit is the third of that leg, and I appreciate their efforts, so I did want to publicly say that. So there's 24 out of the 28 strategies that require some sort of investment, but I'm specifically asking for your help on the 6 of the 13 municipal strategies. When might we be able to anticipate some of the costs specifically to the city to gain or to reach those strategies? I know some of them is, some of those might be zero, like the municipal energy policy, that's not going to cost us much, but maybe the zero net energy buildings or more efficient vehicle technologies or the airport accreditation. What does that cost us? Or-
So basically, in this year's budget, we did have some funding allocated for us to bring on a expert in triple bottom line economics. So once we have them on board this fiscal year, we can identify what those priority strategies that we would like them to do the analysis.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And I know Councilwoman Sandoval mentioned that economic analysis is important, so I appreciate her comments on that. Did we finally get endorsed by the Sierra Club?
Yes, we did have Mr. Terry Burns, president of the Sierra Club, who just spoke earlier today.
Okay, so I just wanted to continue on that. I love the urban heat island plan idea, and I'm glad that we're working on meeting with partner agencies. Another question that I have is, how often do we monitor the use of our current electric vehicle charging stations? Do we know how often they're used?
So that would be a question for CPS Energy. They currently manage the largest portion of the network. The plan that we are working on right now, looking at citywide charging infrastructure, we've been collaborating with CPS. The market's changing, and so I think there's discussions about what does that future network looks like. Is it actually the city or the utility owning it, or is it a private market system? So we'll see changes going forward, but we should have some be able to report soon as far as what some of the initial findings are from that plan.
Okay, great. I do want to thank you for working with economic development on the PACE mechanism. I think that it's time that San Antonio gets some of that funding so that we could help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and support economic growth at the same time. So thank you for that. I know I've had at least one call from the Archdiocese of San Antonio, and the churches are very concerned that maybe we're not moving fast enough, and so I assured them that we're moving as fast as we can. I also want to say, by the way, that I'm very impressed with VIA's Jeff Arndt for his football analogies. That was it was a very great way to put it together as a playbook that will continuously have us calling different plays and try to figure out what works and what doesn't. So I am happy that VIA and the West Chamber and some of these other folks CPS Energy have come out in support of some of our plan here. I also, Carlota, who was here earlier, who was celebrating her son's 6th birthday from far away. As a mom, I know how important it is to be with your children, and so she was advocating on behalf of children across the world, and I know she had left already, but I felt like Salvador, and if he needed to have some sort of a gift, so I sent him my Climate Ready pin as a thank you on behalf of all of the city council for sharing his mom with us on his birthday. But I thought that it was so valuable to have that point of view represented, that San Antonio is really being watched from all over. So we had someone from Canada think that it was important, and her child was involved in this. And so I just want to thank you for being an advocate for our climate and for really answering every single one of my 60 plus questions, and I really appreciate it. So thank you, Doug. That's all. Thank you.